These are the best players in fantasy football. We're going to give you round 1 rankings plus a couple more. So we got some bonus players for you. Sorry, I had to do that. Bonus players for you. Round 1 rankings, the best players in fantasy football. Do us a huge favor. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you're subscribed to Fantasy Domain as well. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and you can help us get there. We will be your home for fantasy football content, so make sure you are joining us on this journey. We really appreciate you. Make sure you're heading over to flockfantasy.com/domain to get all of our rankings for best ball and fantasy, all of our dynasty rankings included, not to mention articles, databases. You get to be in our Discord, and if you choose the Mother Flocker tier, we will give you some personalized team advice in the form of a video reviewing one of your teams, and you'll be in a listener league with us, and that'll be lots of fun. We're doing best ball leagues on Underdog, so make sure you go over to flockfantasy.com and use code domain for 30% off. All right, like I said, best players in fantasy. We're essentially just ranking the top 15 players in fantasy football today. We'll start with the S tier, and we'll start with the 2 most obvious choices in PPR leagues with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. So
that's not obvious.
So, with Justin Jefferson, I mean, there's not much to be said here. Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in the NFL, the most dominant wide receiver in the NFL, maybe one of the best wide receivers ever, period. So, this year, no exception. He's got a suitable quarterback throwing him the ball in Kirk Cousins. He now has Jordan Addison next to him. And in my opinion, Jordan Addison will do more for Justin Jefferson than we think. Not that he really needed it. He was as dominant as he could be before. Jordan Addison now will help spread defenses even more. If it's possible for Justin Jefferson to get better, I think that Jordan Addison would help him do that. So Justin Jefferson looking towards a monster year again. We expect big things out of him. And Jamar Chase, the same thing. You know, with Jamar Chase, last year, kind of hit and miss with a couple nagging injuries, but we fully expect Jamar Chase out there competing with Justin Jefferson for the wide receiver 1 role or the wide receiver 1 finish this year, because Jamar Chase is a top tier receiver in the NFL. He's a big play guy. He's going to score lots of touchdowns. He's tied to Joe Burrow, who is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. He is on one of the best offenses in the NFL. It's Jamar Chase. So again, not a lot of questions about these 2 guys, but in the A tier, we're going to start with Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, with Christian McCaffrey, we obviously saw him kind of have a resurgence when he entered Kyle Shanahan's offense in San Francisco. If you're playing in a PPR league, he's an even hotter commodity this year. You look at the Brock Purdy-led 49ers, most likely, and they're going to depend on their weapons. Christian McCaffrey had a 20+% target share almost all year last year. He obviously dominates with his targets. We've seen what he can do with the ball in his hands, and obviously some of the best fantasy seasons ever coming from Christian McCaffrey in 2019 to 2018, and we've seen what he can do. We're really no reason to expect him to drop off this year, especially being in such a dominant offense. And next, we're looking at Travis Kelce. When you're in your average home league, if you're playing with your buddies from college on ESPN, Travis Kelce is going to give you a leg up like no other. When you're looking at a non-best ball league and you can just slide Travis Kelce into your tight end starting position week in and week out and know that he's not going to drop you any duds. He's never going to give you a 0. That's one of the best things you can do. Give yourself a leg up in a scarce position like that. And Travis Kelce, yes, he's 33, but he still has Patrick Mahomes, and the Chiefs don't have another dominant wide receiver, so why would he fall off? Travis Kelce is really one of the best picks in history, and he's going to keep being that.
Yeah, so in the next tier, B tier below, we've got Tyreek Hill and Cooper Kupp. Tyreek Hill, look, there may even be questions about him going into this year about some potential legal issues, some off-the-field problems. Don't listen to him. Nothing's going to happen. I mean, look how long it's taken for Alvin Kamara to even be considered for a suspension. Like, there is an entire season between the incident versus now potentially it occurring. And Tyreek Hill's situation is, I think, less
minimal.
Severe.
It's not something
minimal.
that we're worried about. Tyreek Hill is one of my most rostered player in best ball leagues. By the way, these are redraft rankings, not best ball rankings. So.
And with Tyreek Hill, look, all I have to say is that he's 3rd in the league in targets last season, 2nd in target share, 1st in target rate, 2nd in air yards, first in deep targets, second in receptions, second in receiving yards, and fourth in total touchdowns, third in fantasy points per game, first in yards per route run. Like, the list goes on and on and on. I don't think you have to say anything else other than this is what he did. Yes, with Jalen Waddle, when everyone hated on him and said that he was nothing without Patrick Mahomes and nothing with Tua Tagovailoa and nothing playing alongside the GOAT Jalen Waddle, who was a second-year receiver playing with Tyreek Hill, who was the one being paid $100 million.
Best wide receiver in the NFL.
Look, same thing's going to happen this year. Obviously, of course, always barring injury, Tyreek Hill is not slowing down. He's the cheetah. Cooper Kupp didn't slow down last year. The Rams slowed down. The Rams sucked, but Cooper Kupp was doing what Cooper Kupp did with Matt Stafford in 2021. And look, doing the same thing in 2022 for the first half of the season. We don't think that there's a chance that coming off the injury and his age that he could, I don't know, maybe start slow. And some of it could be dependent on how long Matt Stafford's going to play, but really how much is that going to affect Cooper Kupp's fantasy upside? I don't think very much, because he's a very system-friendly wide receiver for really any quarterback in that offense, and McVay's going to write up plays for him to get the ball because he really is one of the few elite playmakers, the only elite playmaker in that offense, one of the few capable playmakers in that offense too. So I think with him and Tyreek being in the same tier, they both have the same upside, both just as capable as the other to literally be the wide receiver one overall this year in fantasy.
Yeah, and you say, the only elite playmaker in that offense, but that's forgetting the next guy on this list in the next tier. That's going to be Cam Akers, who I couldn't resist.
That was funny.
C tier. We're going to start with Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler, you know the drill with him. Obviously coming out, playing about 65% of his snaps last year. He was the most efficient scoring fantasy running back last year, period. And one of the most efficient seasons of all time. He was targeted at an extremely high level. He was productive, I think, in PPR leagues at the 4th or 5th overall player period level. Now, look, do we expect Austin Eckler to do that again? No, we don't, because if we did, we'd have him in the S tier, because last year he performed at an S tier level. So we are projecting Austin Eckler to take a slight step back in Kellen Moore's new offense, and they're going to let Justin Herbert probably throw it down the field a little bit more, let him make a couple more plays. However, Austin Eckler still going to be utilized at a very, very high rate, and is still going to be one of the most talented playmaking backs in the entire NFL, maybe period. I mean, he brings it all, especially in the receiving game. And again, we're playing in these half-point PPR redraft leagues. If you're not playing in a PPR redraft league, obviously that's going to affect how you're valuing Austin Eckler. But again, Austin Eckler, from a receiving standpoint, is absolutely going to make it worth picking him. Jonathan Taylor is going to be next on this list. And Jonathan Taylor, quite frankly, it depends on where you're drafting. ESPN leagues, he's starting to go late first. But if you're playing in underdog leagues, he's going in the second round. Listen, regardless of where Jonathan Taylor is going in your fantasy leagues, Jonathan Taylor is absolutely going to have a bounce back year. Good luck trying to tackle Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor on RPOs. Good luck. You choose your poison, because if Jonathan Taylor doesn't get the ball, Anthony Richardson will absolutely truck everybody. He is historically athletic and historically large for that athleticism as well. Not to mention Jonathan Taylor, maybe the best running back in the NFL. Him and Nick Chubb, probably the two best. Derrick Henry's up there as well. But Jonathan Taylor, we forget so quickly because he had an ankle injury that he is one of the better running backs in the NFL, period.
An ankle sprain.
You will see it this year. You will see the production return. They're going to run the ball a lot. Anthony Richardson does not hurt Jonathan Taylor. He helps him. He will help him from a production standpoint as well. We expect a lot of fantasy points from Jonathan Taylor this year. He's somebody that if you're getting in the second round, you have to be taking Jonathan Taylor there. He is a very, very good value in fantasy right now, and that's why we have him ranked this high. And then we're going to rank Bijan Robinson. And a lot of people are going to argue for Bijan Robinson to be first overall out of the running backs on this list. You have to be a little bit careful, I think, when you're ranking rookie running backs in fantasy, because it is fairly rare for a running back to come out and completely dominate the league like Bijan's capable of doing. But notice, I gave you that Bijan is capable of doing that. Bijan Robinson, one of the better running back prospects to come out in the last 10 years, maybe second to only Saquon Barkley. He really is so well-rounded that I think he can have an absolutely historic rookie year. Totally believe that. I'm totally on board. He's going to a team that ran the ball more than any other team last year in the Atlanta Falcons. So my confidence on him is sky high. I think he gets the volume. I think Arthur Smith, very good at creatively using running backs in the passing game as well. You saw it with Cordarrelle Patterson. So I think that Bijan's going to get some work there as well. I'm not really worried about Tyler Algier. That being said, we're going to temper our expectations. We'll put him in the same tier as Eckler and Jonathan Taylor. But again, we're going to not say he's going to just completely blow the world up in his first year, because betting on a rookie running back with your first round fantasy pick brings a lot of risk to your entire fantasy portfolio. We aren't necessarily looking to dive into that much risk, but Bijan is an incredible player in his own right. And then moving down to the D tier, you've got CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb. Simon's got CeeDee Lamb.
Simon's got
In
CeeDee
the
Lamb.
D tier, we got CD's Lamb. CD, I know I almost did it. CeeDee Lamb last year had a 28.7% target share. And when you look at that Cowboys offense, you got Dalton Schultz leaving, you got Ezekiel Elliott leaving, you got Noah Brown leaving, and you got really no one else coming in to fill it. Brandon Cooks. And Brandon Cooks is a good wide receiver. CeeDee Lamb, paired with Dak Prescott, who has lost his rushing upside over the years, they are going to be in a pass-heavy offense. CeeDee Lamb, this year more than any other year, we keep waiting for that elite, absolutely blow-up season from CeeDee Lamb, and I think this year might be the year, and we don't know, but we hope, And CeeDee Lamb last year, he finally had the year where he came out and he proved all of us right. He could be what we wanted him to be in fantasy, and we really expect more of the same. Last year, 4th in total touchdowns, 9th in target rate, 9th in target share, 4th in targets, 7th in target rate. He was elite last year, and in PPR and in half PPR leagues, same story this year. Next, you have A.J. Brown, obviously paired with Jalen Hurts now, and now he's out of that Tennessee offense. He has a franchise QB. He's with someone long-term. Last year, A.J. Brown gave us 17.6 points per game in PPR. He was 8th in target share as well with a 29% target share. The guy does not slow down. He's always open. What's his Twitter name? 1K always open or something like that. He was 2nd in total touchdowns last year. A.J. Brown is a beast. He's a top 5 wide receiver in the league. And when he's playing alongside Devontae Smith, I don't know if you know who that is. He's pretty good. No. Dallas Goedert's a really, really good tight end as well. And he has Jalen Hurts opening up the passing and running game with his RPO.
Who?
And now they have DeAndre Swift as well.
Who?
A.J. Brown is going to feast next year, and we're not really worried about it. We saw what the Eagles offense could do. Now, we have someone who's a little bit controversial. And I don't know if it's because this guy's not very good, because if we're being honest, he's not a very good wide receiver, and it's Devontae Adams. No. This guy, he's pretty mid last year. He was only 1st in the league in target share with 32.6%. He was only 1st in the league in total yards. He was only 1st in the league in total touchdowns. No, not total yards. Unrealized air yards last year.
Yeah.
The guy is absolutely dominant. And what reason? Can you think of a reason why he would drop off from, maybe the best wide receiver in the league last year to the 10th best this year? Well, Jimmy Garoppolo, some of you might be saying, but Jimmy Garoppolo, if you look into the statistics, is not that much worse than Derek Carr. Derek Carr was horrible last year, and Devontae Adams, he's still Devontae Adams, and we really expect him to produce.
100%. And then dropping down to the final tier here, we're going to start with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, so with Patrick Mahomes, this guy is just... he's Patrick Mahomes. I mean, what are you going to say? The win rate with Patrick Mahomes compared to... shut up. The win rate with Patrick Mahomes compared to any other quarterback in the NFL in redraft leagues is significantly higher than even, number 2, even than Josh Allen, even than Jalen Hurts. And even with their rushing upside being superior to Patrick Mahomes, he is so dominant as a passer and so capable still as a runner that he's just a level up above anyone else. QB1 overall last year, MVP. Again, it's Patrick Mahomes. Moving on to Nick Chubb. Moving on to Nick Chubb. Running back 5 here. And I personally believe that this is really as high as you can rank Nick Chubb. I think this is his ceiling as a running back. And there's definitely... maybe not risk to taking him here, because I think he has a higher floor than some of the guys going behind him, which is why he's going at running back 5. But the guy had a guy coming right behind him in Saquon Barkley, I think he's just as capable of being a top 3, top 4 running back, maybe even more than Nick Chubb. But these two guys, Nick Chubb, like we said earlier, debatably the best running back in the NFL in an offense where Deshaun Watson is still trying to get used to playing in the NFL again, and Kareem Hunt's finally gone. So Nick Chubb is not slowing down. Nick Chubb can take a bell cow workload, and he's going to kick some butt in that offense. Saquon Barkley in an offense with Daniel Jones at quarterback, who has his limitations as a passer. Saquon Barkley is the focal point there with Brian Dable, and the wide receiver core is subpar, I would say. So they're going to give Saquon the ball in the passing game and the running game. He's going to be all over the field like he always is, and he will be just fine. So that's the F tier. And just because we have a minute, just for the sake of playing devil's advocate, I think there's one omission here, one significant omission that we have in this list, Garrett Wilson. Yeah. Why do you think he doesn't belong in the D tier with CD, AJ Brown, and Devontae Adams when he put up over 1,000 yards as a rookie last season with Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, Mike White, and the other dude? I'll
take this one.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I looked just, for instance, at the target share of all of those guys last year. All of them 28, 29, 32%, all of them top 10 in their target share last year. And that's something we all see. We all think Garrett Wilson can do. But there are reasonable question marks about Aaron Rodgers and his play at QB last year. And there again are reasonable questions with Garrett Wilson, and can he do that with a higher workload and with more volume? And we'd like to assume yes, but I think if I'm drafting and if I'm looking with my friends and it's some college buddies or some friends from high school, I think I might be able to take one of those guys in the first and still get Garrett Wilson on the wraparound. This is just playing the value because they might not be as in tune with the NFL landscape, and they might know how good Garrett Wilson is and how good he was last year. And I think you might be able to grab CD and you wrap around and get Garrett Wilson in the mid-second. You know, these are not guys who are the Sharks playing in your underdog drafts. And now you're getting this information on here. So I don't know what you think about that, but that was my reasoning.
I would have no problem putting Garrett Wilson almost anywhere on this list.
Yeah.
I'm high on Garrett Wilson. He was 6th in targets last year. He obviously is playing with terrible quarterbacks. Do I think Aaron Rodgers is a huge upgrade? No. Do I think there are still questions?
Huge compared to Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
Huge. You're talking about the back-to-back MVP who played with a broken thumb last year.
Yes.
I think you're shorting one of the GOATs. So
cool. So
do I think Aaron Rodgers is a huge upgrade? Not a huge one. But at the same time, Garrett Wilson in his own right, extremely good rookie season, and for him to not come out and make a sophomore jump would surprise me. So I could see Garrett Wilson. I agree with you. I think you could put Garrett Wilson anywhere on this list. So, all right, that's going to wrap it up. These are the best players in fantasy football, so make sure you're drafting these guys. Do us a huge favor. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe as well. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Make sure you head over to flockfantasy.com/domain. When you use our code, domain, you will get 30% off, access to our rankings, articles, databases, etc. Not only that, you get access to our Discord, get in a league with us, and we'll review one of your teams on one of our videos. So make sure you're heading over there and doing that and using code domain. As always, we appreciate you watching. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later.